Welcome back to the garage. After that long drive to that local park in the previous video, it's become very apparent that it is past time to swap out the rear axle. The noises it's making are getting worse. And if you're not familiar with the noises I'm talking about, here's a quick clip of increasingly bad noises it's been making. Yeah, I'm not even listening to it right now, and that makes my ears hurt. So, I've got the Dana 41 rebuilt. It's been sitting over here for a couple months now, ready to go. I've had the suspension overhaul sitting in my living room for a year and a half now. I keep telling myself it's only been a year, but no, it's been a full year and a half, maybe more. So, it's time to take stock of what I've got here and get it ready to install. So let's check some of this stuff out. Well, this is about how it's been sitting in my living room for the past year and a half. This project has been going on for so long that even before the first drive, I knew those, at least the front shocks, were just done. So I bought these, and then I forgot that I bought these because they were just up on the parts shelf. Then I went out to Kaiser Willys and I bought their suspension overhaul kit, the complete kit. Been there, done that, got the shirt. Not sponsored because I'm not a big enough channel for that and I don't put out enough videos to get sponsored by them probably. So this is all my own money, but it's got everything you need. C-shackles, U-bolts, the pivot bolt, bronze bushings for the new leaf springs, and shocks. So I'm probably gonna put those up on Marketplace if someone needs those locally. And I'll go ahead and just put what's in the box here on the Jeep. Now the one little bit of controversy that might come from these is that these are the Indian made springs. These aren't the US made ones. And this is actually from before Kaiser Willys bought out CarWalk and started selling all of the Walk's four-wheel drive parts, including the US-made leaf springs. Does it matter? You know, this is already a hodgepodge of parts, but what a lot of people don't realize is that the folks over in India are pretty big vintage Jeep enthusiasts. And they try to do a pretty good job at making parts. So I'm gonna try these out and just see how they go. Honestly, they've gotta be better than what's on there right now. So enough of that. Let's start looking at what it'll take to install. Somehow I expected these bronze bushings to be more difficult to install, but really you just go medieval on them with a dead blow hammer. Put this in the freezer for, I don't know, an hour. Done. So far, the hardest part of this thing has been spending 45 freaking minutes getting all of this tape and stuff off of these leaf springs. This is completely unnecessary. But they're ready to go, I think. I'm going with the 8 leaf springs for the front and the 9 leaf springs for the back. That might be a bit of a soft ride, I don't know yet, but we'll see how that goes. So with these clean for the most part, this glue residue is not coming off easy. But I think it's enough to start with swapping out the rear axle. So let's go on to the next step. It's a somewhat cluttered garage, so I don't have a lot of room to work with. So I guess it'll make more sense if I just rotate the Jeep 90 degrees and work on it that way. I'll have more room side to side. And if anything goes wrong, it won't slide backwards. Yeah. We're mostly on jack stands. I need to just get the spare out of the way and then get the front tires off. But if I'm not mistaken, what came on these originally was an 8-leaf in the front and a 9-leaf in the rear. This sucker is a 12-leaf. It's actually on both sides. It's 12 leaves. So someone beefed that up quite a bit. Then over here on the passenger front, you're not going to be able to see it because of the lighting in here, but this is kind of a mixed matched leaf spring. There's like a bunch of little thin ones in there, then one big chunky one, and it's like 11 leaves. And then this side looks like the factory 8-leaf for the front. So the Jeep kind of has this Jeep lean going on. And this side is just lower. Except when I'm sitting in the driver's seat, then it kind of magically levels itself out. We'll get to those. But I don't know if I'm gonna get this far today, but I'm gonna start with the fronts just to figure out what I'm doing. And Dad's on his way over, so I'll have an extra set of hands just in case I screw up. And we're already leaking oil. That just means I have oil to leak. Dad with me over here. We're up on jack stands and everything's laid out. We've got our 8-leaf spring, U-bolt shock, and I'll figure out which C-shackle is which and the pivot eye bolt. So we should be ready to rock and roll. There's the driver's front off. As usual, those were pretty well stuck, but heat knocked them out. We're still fighting one very tough cotter pin for the shock, but it all came out. Here's the old versus new. It really doesn't look bad, all things considered. But we're gonna go ahead and replace it anyways, since we're here. This C-shackle does have a slight bend to it, so maybe it was due for replacement. Well, the time-lapse camera work wasn't great, sorry about that, but driver side front is mostly in. Need to grease all the zerks, but that pivot eye bolt is not working out so well. The hole is drilled too high up, I think. So when you tighten the nut down to snug, not too tight, then put the cotter pin through, it's not even touching the nut. You can spin that nut freely, so that's not going to work. So I'm probably going to have to just come up with a washer for that, and that'll solve the issue. Bubba is kind of screwing me over here because of this front bumper that they added on. This big old plate of steel is making it stick out just that far to where I can't get a washer and a cotter pin on this thing. It's just not possible. I've got my little trigger clamp here trying to squeeze that in and make it work, but what they did previously was just dent the side of the old one, and that kind of forced it to work. So I may have to grab a hammer and give it a couple of smacks and put a dent in the side of it so this will work. Not ideal, but that might be what has to happen. As some of you probably noticed already if you watched the time lapse, this is wrong. So once again I made the mistake of trusting that Bubba did things right previously, and he did not. The left front and the right rear C-shackles have right hand thread on the top but left hand thread on the bottom. What we pulled off of here was right hand on both sides. For it to be correct, we're going to pull this spring off, put it on the other side because it's already cut with right hand threads, and put the other spring on and cut it with left hand threads, and then it'll be right. Fun. Passenger side is done. This took about 5 hours. This was a big challenge compared to the driver's side. The old spring came right out. New one did not quite go right in. I could not get that pin to index right when I had the pivot eye bolt over there installed. I made a rookie mistake, got a tip on Facebook to loosen up the bolts on the driver's side. I shouldn't tighten them, this early in the process. Loosen those up. This side finally indexed right. Bolt in, U-bolts on. That bigger U-bolt was a pain, but it's in. This front C-shackle was a challenge. I'm beginning to worry that the frame on this thing is a little bit tweaked. I need to go consult the manual and look at all the specs, but things didn't quite want to align here, but I've made it work, and I hope it's good, but I guess we'll find out. So with that, I can finally move on to the back. And I'm less than enthusiastic about that right now because this front has already been a lot more of a challenge than I thought it was going to be, and the back was the whole reason for this endeavor anyways. Getting a late start today. The shock is out as expected. No bueno. Unfortunately, that is also a problem. I can probably put a new shock on there temporarily, but for it to track right, I'm going to need to get another spring plate. So hopefully the other side's not going to be the same way. These old school cotter pins really are something else. These are in here good, and they're thicker than modern ones, at least the ones I've been getting, and these don't bend. And they don't want to come out either. There. Oh, okay. There's two of them and one is destroyed. Weird. This has been kind of par for the course. Completely destroyed bushings on all four. Except for the tops on the back. Both those are pretty good. The bottom ones are just universally shot. Oh geez. The spring mount's bent on this one too, but it's bent the other way. Yeah. Wonderful. Oh, it's bent. That's cool. Someone took this thing off a sweet jump. Well, given the state of both of these, and I don't know that I can straighten those, good Lord, the wear and tear. Yeah, the best bet is probably to replace these. I need to get a parts order in. Captain's log, August 28th. The pinion nut does not want to come off. I've got to dig a ton of grease out of there just to get the freaking socket on. So I'm moving real slow. Oh, there's the socket I was missing. Resprayed the axle because, you know, looks matter. It's not like anyone will see it under there. I got some parts ordered. Hopefully Ron Fitzpatrick can get me some spring plates in a couple days. I want to do it right. I could probably rock those for the short term, but when they're bent like that, you know, and when they're worn like that, you know, let me just do something right while I'm here. Well, I always struggle with knowing just how much of this to record or not. Some of this is interesting, but for a lot of you guys who are watching this, you've been here, done that. This is not that interesting. Since I'm sitting here waiting for parts, I figure I might as well look at these backing plates because they got to come off anyways. I have to reuse all this brake hardware on the new axle. And then it dawns on me, you know, these have never been off. I never pulled these off when I was doing the initial cleanup on the brakes. And they look rusty, greasy, and dirty as hell. And I want to put it on that. And the touch-up paint is still drying because of the Arkansas humidity. It's miserable right now. But yeah, it just doesn't feel right to me to put something that dirty and rusty on something that clean. It's a slippery slope. So I'm gonna go pull the other side, get all the components off of this, degrease the hell out of it, see if I have time. I think I have time. It's gonna be Labor Day weekend, so yeah, I got time. I'll blast that, prime it, and paint it to match, and I'll make it clean for a while at least. Well, I wish I'd had the foresight to record the draining of the old differential, but as you can see, what came out was not just oil. There was a great deal of glitter in there. This was new oil 150 miles ago, and it does not look good. So that just reinforces the idea that this was the right time to replace this poor old axle. Just sit on those 2x4s. Need some support under. Now I gotta get those pivot bolts. This is what I was talking about when I said I was doing some homework and extra recording stuff. Was getting the little things loose. All right. Get the bolts out. Give the spring a good whack. Ready? Yeah. I'm out. All right. Of course. The wounded Dana 41 is out. I'm going to do a post-mortem on this in a separate video most likely. But for now, I need to clean some of the junk off of the... Ooh. Tap, 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 tap. So much backlash. Yeah, I'm going to rob the yoke and the dust cover off of this because the new axle over there doesn't have one. Yes, that is such a welcome sight. Got the yoke and the dust cover transferred over. The splines fit really good and tight. There was a little bit of wear, but I was able to sand that down with 800 grit, so I think it'll be okay. Need to torque this down though. Got the cover back off so I can put that Permatex gray, I believe, on there to get this good and sealed up. And that should start the clock for 24 hours until I can actually put oil in this thing. And I need the time anyways because I painted these last night and this paint is pretty dang tacky still. This Arkansas humidity is really throwing off my progress here. And this is even after I hit these with a heat gun for I don't know how many minutes, quite a bit. Probably about 30 on and off. So if just these plates will dry up enough for me to use them, I can push forward on this and I can do the brakes a little bit later. But these parts reconditioned pretty well. I'm surprised, they look pretty good. Well, running out of daylight, though I've got plenty of internal lights. Backing plates are starting to get cleaned. Well, one of them is, at least. I really wish I'd done this earlier in the project because this thing was so caked in dirt. I got most of it off. I'm about to hit it with the wire wheel one more time. And then to the blasting cabinet. Because you guys know me, it's got to be clean. All the hardware is now getting ultrasonic clean and degreased so I can blast it next. Backing plate turned out all right. I need to dust this off real quick. OG Bendix logo there. And correctly, red primary at this time. The humidity is borderline today. I'm actually really surprised at these oil seals. This one's got a bunch of junk in it, but overall, inside it's in pretty good condition. Could have been cleaned up and reused. Same on this side here. This one's cleaner. Great condition. You know, every once in a while, you run into a clever Bubba. I didn't even notice this the first time around. Somehow they broke off the little U-shaped thing that holds the brake shoe in place, and they engineered a replacement. That's so good that I don't want to mess with it. I'm gonna sandblast this thing and just run it as is. Well, I just beat the rain. It started sprinkling and then it stopped, but that was just enough to knock the humidity up a notch. Plates are in red primer. I don't think these were supposed to be painted. I didn't see any paint on them when I blasted them, but I'll paint them silver. They'll be nice and clean, and as long as there's no paint in there, they'll probably rotate just fine. And of course, right as I was starting to paint, FedEx rolled up with parts. They're unnecessarily F-script, but they're the right ones, so I can continue on. I'll probably wire wheel the rest of the hardware just to clean it up. I'm worried about these covers because this one has a hole in it right where oil would drain to, so I might be able to fix that with some solder or something, but the other one It's rusty, but it was fine on the inside, you know, so it'll clean up. And unfortunately, I had an extra axle to rebuild, so I have this other one that cleaned up okay and doesn't have a hole in it. So I'll just probably run with this one after some media blasting. Well, it took forever to get the paint to dry and cure, but that's a hell of an improvement over that muddy mess I pulled off a couple days ago. I'm not happy about the paint run I had to sand out, but I don't have time to fix that, so I'll just live with it. I also went ahead and brightened up all the old hardware. These brass eccentrics got a careful cleaning, and they're ready to go. Well, I guess one downside is that I'm having to put already used slave cylinders on these, so there's the chance that brake fluid's gonna leak everywhere and destroy my fresh paint. Well, there's the passenger side one, and now through the magic of editing, both are done. Oh, this sucker's heavy. Alright, trying to line it up here. Yeah, see, this one goes way easier.
Yeah.
I'll hold it if you will grab the light and see where it is. That's not close enough. On the other side was. Okay, done. Snug-ish. We'll get cotter pins later. Okay. God damn, it's on the ground.
How's that?
Dad's getting the passenger side C-shackle tightened down. Once I get the driver's side done, we should be pretty close. We have to get the shocks on, but starting to button this thing up. Getting all this stuff to align was harder than I thought. I'm glad that a lot of that didn't get recorded, because just getting these pivot eye bolts in was a chore on one side. Well, the shocks are fighting me on this side, just like they did on the front. I have a thinner washer for the bottom at least, so that one's on, but the top just has really thick washers, and I can't get a cotter pin in there. Between the thicker new rubber bushing and the thick flat washer, it's just a challenge, and it's Sunday and the hardware store is closed, It's also Labor Day weekend, so the hardware store is closed. So I'm probably gonna have to thin what I've got out on a belt sander, and that'll take a minute. With the shims dusted off one last time, let's get these installed. One refreshed brake backing plate with the long shoe facing forward, as is the vintage Jeep way. One honestly poorly cut gasket. One oil seal. And one, I don't even know what this is called, but it's cleaned up and freshly painted. Can you tell I'm getting tired yet? 5 days into a 3-day project. All right. Good and solid. Getting all the Zerks greased up. This grease gun has been kind of garbage, but it's working well enough. The problem has been the Zerks themselves, because it doesn't matter how much you tighten them, they still leak. So I don't know if I'm greasing them up well or not, but guess we'll find out. Well, I don't remember what the last thing I recorded was, but at some point you just got to do the work. So a lot of it's done, and the Jeep's back on the ground on all four. The brake adjustment has been done on all four corners because it really needed it. And still need to torque down the pinion nut and get the drive shaft back on, then refill the diff, bleed the brakes. Gotta torque all of the U-bolts now that it's finally sitting back on the ground. Those shocks kind of fought me the whole way, but they're done. And the back seems to be sitting quite a bit higher. If I'm guessing here, probably about an inch higher, maybe more. The front sits about the same. So I'm really looking forward to getting the last few things torqued down and bleed the brakes and get the few more odds and ends done. But this major suspension overhaul should be done. I am 5 days into a 3-day project, and tomorrow's Labor Day, so this will probably go into day 6, unfortunately. And while I'm over here, there's my skid plate. I can install that at any point, except these leaks are just not getting any better, are they? I'm gonna have to deal with those sooner rather than later. Everything is torqued. Pinions torqued. Drive shaft is on. Differential filled. Brakes bled. I know that I'm missing one set of gaskets because the overhaul kit was not complete, so I need to take the rear hubs off and put a paper gasket on. But outside of that, it could drive. I think we're ready. My arms aren't ready. So I'm gonna level with you guys. The past 6 days have been really rough. I've got nothing left in my arms right now. I don't know if I can turn the steering wheel right now after torquing so much stuff. I'm barely able to hold this camera up. So maybe I'll take a break and then get this thing spun around one way or another and get it out the garage and see if it'll go. Whew. Well, the Jeep's kind of mostly back in its natural habitat. Trying to get a sense of normalcy back in the garage. We went ahead and put it up on jack stands just to hear it run and make sure everything sounded okay before we actually took it on a drive. Spoiler alert, it actually did not sound good. It sounded really strangely clunky. I don't know what to make of that just yet. It might just be the spider gears because it's up and it doesn't have a load on it. That's probably what it is, but I did find out that the drive shaft is bent on the back. I never realized that before. I'll insert a vertical video of it here. Well, that might be a problem. Drive shaft's a little bent. So yeah, that's gonna be a problem for future Bradley. But in the meantime, it's at least done. The suspension is overhauled. When it was on the ground, was sitting a lot more level. And the old differential, I did go ahead and blast the whole thing. It looks, I don't know, about the same. But I'll do a post-mortem on that one soon, and we'll see what happened on the insides. But I can at least take it apart and store it somewhere in here. But thanks for watching. If you found any of this entertaining, informative, leave me a like, leave me a comment, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Maybe you'll see something interesting, because I'm very close to taking this thing off-road, as long as that rear end is happier than the old one. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye for now.